All right, let's talk about something that is quickly becoming a massive deal in the tech world. How in the world do we manage artificial intelligence? Today, we're going to break down ISO/IEC 42001. This is the world's first international standard designed to bring some order to the AI universe. And just so you know, ISO and IEC, they're the global bodies that create these kinds of standards. So yeah, this is basically the official playbook.
So, we all know AI is basically everywhere now, right? It's changing how we work, how we live. It's a huge driver of the economy. But with all that power comes a really critical question, one that every single company has to face. As we're all rushing to use AI, who's actually managing all the new and, frankly, complicated risks that come with it?
Okay, Section 1, AI's promise and peril. So to really get why we even need a global standard in the first place, we've got to understand the fundamental challenge AI throws at us. Think of it like a classic balancing act between incredible opportunity on one side and some pretty serious new kinds of danger on the other. And this right here really frames that core tension. You've got this massive push for innovation. AI is driving so much economic growth, but at the same time, you've got this urgent need for governance. See, AI systems aren't like your normal software. They learn on their own, they adapt, they make decisions. You just can't use the old rulebook for that. So what makes these AI risks so different? Well, for starters, there's the whole black box problem, the lack of transparency where you don't even know how it made a decision. Then you have systems that are constantly learning and literally changing their own behavior. And of course, they are completely at the mercy of the data you feed them. Traditional IT management, it just wasn't built for this. And here's what this stuff looks like in the real world. Think about environmental complexity. That's a self-driving car trying to handle a chaotic city street during rush hour. Or what about a lack of explainability? If your company's AI denies someone a loan, can you tell them exactly why? If you can't, you're looking at a huge problem. The point is, this isn't some far-off theoretical issue. It's happening right now. Section 2, a global standard for AI. So to manage this wild new landscape of risk, the world needed a structured, unified game plan. And that's exactly where ISO/IEC 42001 comes in. At the very heart of this standard is the concept of an AI management system, or AIMS for short. Now, don't think of this as just some boring checklist. It's more like a complete operating system for how a company responsibly handles AI, from the very first idea all the way to shutting the system down for good. And this is a really big deal. This isn't just one company's bright idea or one country's new regulation. This is the very first international standard for managing AI, put together by global experts. That gives it a ton of authority and credibility right out of the gate. So, Section 3, the core, risk and PDCA. Okay, we know what this thing is, a global standard. But how does it actually work in practice? Well, it all boils down to two core principles: a laser focus on risk, and a cycle of continuous improvement. The entire standard is really built on this one guiding philosophy. Everything starts with risk. It means an organization has to systematically identify what could go wrong, figure out how likely it is to happen, and then build in safeguards or controls to manage those risks throughout the AI's entire life. And the engine that powers this whole thing is the classic plan, do, check, act cycle. This is what makes the AI management system a living, breathing thing, not just a document that collects dust. You plan your policies, you do the work, you check your performance, and then you act on what you learn to make things better. It's a loop. It never stops. All right, Section 4, key areas of control. So we've covered the how, that risk-based cycle. Now let's dig into the what. What specific areas does a company actually have to get a handle on to be compliant here? Let's kick off with a huge one, data. This quote right here is key. An organization has to understand the data it's using, where it came from, what biases might be lurking inside, and the impact it's going to have. Because with AI, data isn't just information. It's the raw fuel for every single decision the system makes. And it goes way beyond just data. The standard requires controls across a whole bunch of areas. For instance, establishing clear human oversight. So a practical control might be a simple rule. Any AI decision that seriously affects a customer, like denying a big insurance claim, must be reviewed by a human expert before it's final. It's about building in those common-sense human checkpoints. It also covers managing the whole life cycle, figuring out who's responsible for what, and even handling risks from your suppliers. It's incredibly comprehensive. So, Section 5, why this matters for you. I know. This probably sounds like a ton of work. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question of all. Why should your organization care? What's the actual strategic payoff for doing all this? Well, this chart lays out the big ones beautifully. Adopting this standard isn't just about checking a box. It's about building real trust with your customers. It's about gaining a serious competitive edge. And crucially, it's about getting your house in order for the wave of AI regulations that you know is coming. So let's just break that down. First, you build undeniable trust. Second, you finally get a systematic way to manage these complex AI risks. Third, you get ahead of future laws, which means less legal pain down the road. Fourth, you position yourself as a leader in responsible AI, and that's a huge differentiator. And finally, you just get smarter about your own internal decision-making. See? This isn't a cost. It's a strategic investment.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. As pretty much every organization on the planet races to use AI, this standard forces a really fundamental question. Are you building your AI future on a solid foundation of trust and systematic management? Or are you just rolling the dice and leaving it all to chance?